Welcome to IGO. That stands for In Good Order. This is the podcast for financial practitioners looking to scale with confidence and clarity. I'm Ben Braverman, senior consultant at SMS Financial Solutions, and now it's time to get in good order. Today, we're joined by Joel Crampton. Joel is the author of Trailblazing Growth, the founder of CMO Alpha. He focuses on an often overlooked part of the overall financial advisor marketing picture, the client journey, among many other things. He's worked on both sides, both in a business to consumer perspective, as well as in a business to business perspective. What we'll do today is talk about marketing trends for financial professionals, how Joel's firm specifically can help offices, some of whom may need help, who are listening to this podcast today that we're currently working with here at SMS, some case studies about his successes and what he sees as some of the common pitfalls in advisors marketing, as again, he has a unique perspective coming from both the B2C and B2B side of the aisle. Joel, how'd I do on the intro? Is that pretty accurate?
Fantastic. Yeah, you made me sound much better than I feel like I personally am, but I think that's part of imposter syndrome, which we all experience.
We
So
indeed
thank you
we
for the
we
intro. Yeah,
we all do. Could we
yeah,
dig a little bit more into your background, how you got started in marketing and what drew you to financial services specifically, and then we can get into your services and some case studies.
yeah. No, again, appreciate the intro. I'm happy to be here. I've been following you since you've launched your podcast, and happy to be guest number. We're in the teens now, right?
20 episodes is on the horizon, and
Oh
20
my goodness.
episodes statistically means that this probably will not be a complete and utter failure, but we got to get there
Absolutely.
first.
Love that. Yeah, and I'm also junior in my podcasting career too, so I think we're both learning. But yeah, as far as marketing, I've always done marketing my whole career. That's what I got my degrees in. So I'm a marketer through and through. I love all the ins and outs of it. Love all the working on both sides of your brain, both the creative side, the branding, the colors and the arts and crafts side of it. And there's the highly technical, data driven statistics, KPIs and metrics, and kind of matching all those together. So that's really why I got into marketing in the first place. And then what got me into financial services, my very first job out of college was as an Aflac insurance salesperson, knocking on doors, trying to get business owners to give me the time of day to pitch Aflac into their businesses. Realized quickly that 100% commission was not the career for me. I need a little bit more stability, and I didn't love the thrill of the sale. And so went back to the roots of marketing. And so from there, I got positions at financial advisor offices, RAs, family offices, and since that, the past 20 years, been working in and around financial services, whether it be insurance companies or online education companies catering to insurance and securities companies and professionals, software, SaaS. I've worked at mutual fund companies and with broker dealers and private real estate capital companies. So I've been in a lot of different types of environments, but always been around financial services. And so when I decided to hang my own shingle and become a fractional marketing leader, it made sense for me to focus in the niche that I felt most comfortable, which was financial services. And more specifically, and this is something I tell all the clients and advisors that I work with, that you need to niche down as far as you can go to a point where it almost gets uncomfortable. Like you're worried that you're narrowing your audience too small. And so that's what I did for myself. While I do work broadly across financial services, all my messaging, all the marketing that I put out about myself is directed at financial advisors, maybe insurance brokers, people kind of in that space. So that's kind of how I've gotten into where I'm at right now, and loving every day that I wake up for work. So it's exciting, and I'm happy with the direction that things are going. Like you said, I've got the book out now, so that's something that wasn't on my 2025 bucket list. So we'll see what 2026 comes about.
Niche until you get uncomfortable. Anytime we talk to a marketing expert on IGO, what I'm always surprised about, or I should stop being surprised, is you want to repel more than you attract. And that's how you really are going to build up a strong client base, which is totally antithetical to probably how a lot of agents, advisors, how you probably started in the industry, which is door knocking, talking to everyone that fogs a mirror in the hopes of grinding out that 100% commissionable revenue, right?
Yeah, it's gone are the days of marketing to the masses. There are so many, for your world, financial advisors out there. If we're all talking to the same people, they're all getting inundated by the exact same messaging. And so, if you're not creating that niche, that focus area, the messaging comes out very bland, very unspecific. The people that you're trying to get in touch with, they're they don't feel like you know them. So your messaging comes off very unauthentic, uninspiring, unoriginal. And so I like you said, niche down to where it becomes uncomfortable. The market's vast. There's plenty of business to go around for all advisors, but the ones that are going to get the business are the ones that are going to niche down, focus their messaging on one particular segment or a handful of segments. Something where if somebody goes to your website, they can automatically within the first 5 seconds of landing on your page figure out who you help, and it's not just we just help retirees and pre-retirees because
And then
you
generic blogs and calculators that are on every other single website.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's all great and fine and dandy to have, but that shouldn't be the main focus. That shouldn't be the main content that you're putting out there.
What, uh, real quickly, the fractional CMO. So I work with plenty of offices that field out social media, field out website design, field out any number of marketing aspects to a full service agency, or some of that is done internally here at SMS, combination of both. We spoke about this in advance, but I think it's really interesting. Talk to me about the fractional CMO Joel differentiator versus there's my social media agency, there's my general marketing agency. This is who's going to help me with these different aspects of as we piece together a marketing plan.
Yeah, the fractional model has been around for a long time in financial services. I think the marketing component is probably the newest function that's starting to bring about in some major capacity and awareness. You think about fractional compliance. There's a lot of fractional compliance people out there now helping some of these independent advisor firms. You've got fractional technology or fractional HR even with recruiters. So there's a lot of these fractional components. CFOs. So there's lots of different fractional responsibilities I think that are out there that some advisors have tried out, and so I think the marketing is generally marketing in general is just one of those functions that advisors are just holding on to for dear life. Not that they're an expert; it's because they feel like they understand marketing enough to that they can do it themselves and not have to hire out. So when they do end up hiring out, it's piecemeal. They're like you were saying, they're having somebody do a little bit of social media marketing, or they're working with some lead vendors, or so that they have all these different tactics that they're hiring out, and then the onus comes back on the advisor, the manager, the principal of the firm, to coordinate all that and decide if that's the right strategy and how all those different pieces work together. That onus falls on them, and they're not marketing experts, even though they have been primarily the marketing person at their firm because that's when they started the firm. They were the only person there doing the marketing, doing the outbound sales. But that's not, in my experience, that's not what they love to do. There's some that are really good at it just because of their personality and nature. But I think that's something that they are now starting to feel the pain of as they are scaling their businesses, that they don't have enough time to work on the marketing that they used to work on. And so when they stop doing the marketing, they stop seeing those leads come in. And so I think outsourcing certainly fills that gap, but you're still missing the strategy. The tactics are easy. You can go to ChatGPT and say, "Give me a list of 100 different things that I can do to grow my business." It'll spit out a bunch of things, and you can go find people that do that. But you need somebody to manage that overall strategy. And how does all of those different tactics work together to build the business, to grow that kind of strategy overall, so that everything is working in tandem and the messaging is aligned, and you've got all these systems and processes in place that help nurture that prospect through their journey. When they realize that they have a problem, then they might reach out to you, but maybe they're not ready to actually engage with you. And so having sort of systems and processes in place is paramount to make sure that you optimize that prospect's journey all the way from they first hear about you all the way from they want to reach out to you, they want to have a phone call, they want to hire you, they want to become on board, and then they want to become a referral partner for you, an advocate for you. So that entire journey process needs to be outlined, and somebody needs to manage that. So that's where I come in. And I don't want this to be a pitch for me, but that fractional model, having somebody that takes all that weight off of the advisor's shoulders, that producer's shoulders, and allows them to focus on what only they can do best, which is service their clients, build the business, think of big picture things that they need to, whether it's, expanding their service offerings or hiring additional staff or advisors. Um, but if they could take off that burden of the marketing, give it to somebody else, some strategic part that they know, wakes up every day and says, how can I grow this business? And what do we need to put in place to grow? They manage it, they optimize it, they maximize the ROI. So that's essentially what I fill that role for.
So you literally integrate into the whole office from an accountability perspective, from the technical to tactical, soup to nuts, uh, on a pseudo part-time basis until everything's been executed, and then on an ongoing basis, is there check-ins or?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the great thing about being fractional is you can make yourself fit in however the business needs you. So you kind of be that utility player. But essentially, once the plan's in place, things are up and running, then you see how things are rolling. You have those weekly check-ins. You've got those metrics and those dashboards, so you can see all the different strategies that are in play and how they're performing, and you can pivot as necessary. My approach is probably very similar to a lot of fractional folks out there is they have weekly check-ins or bi-weekly check-ins with the leadership team. There's monthly dashboards and reporting that's available. We have quarterly planning sessions, so we outline what the next 3 months looks like from a marketing perspective, and then we just kind of go from there. So that's typically how I work, and I think that's the best way that the advisor, the founder, the owners of the firms, that they feel like marketing's working, they're seeing the results, they're seeing the appointments come in, they're seeing the business being generated, but they know somebody is on the back end, pulling the levers and pushing the buttons that are making everything optimized, and all the different leads and all the different programs and strategies and systems and processes are running smoothly. And that's just one thing that when they wake up in the morning, they don't have to worry about.
It's really a few episodes ago, we were talking to Heather Bunja from the Admin Effect, if you're familiar with their service, but they bring, they basically will, if there's like one administrative or even multiple administrative individuals in the office, they come in and do a full consultation in a fractional capacity on the best ways that are they moving assets in the most efficient manner? Are they filling out paperwork in the most efficient manner? And then they literally insert themselves into the office from CRM to entry to do so. And I didn't really think about it, but that they are in a sense a fractional service as well. And that was really appealing to a lot of listeners. We got some feedback because there's offices that, from a scaling perspective, know they need additional help. And it might actually be more cost efficient to hire, in this case, a fractional admin service, or in your case, a fractional marketing service, as opposed to a full time marketing uh, official or inside of the office at all times.
Yeah, absolutely. Most firms, especially the small to medium size, don't need full time staffing from a marketing standpoint. They don't need typically a full time marketing director. They may not need a full time marketing manager. What they may need is just a marketing coordinator to help do some of the in the weeds, some of the tactics. Even if they hire somebody very junior, somebody needs to manage that person, make sure that that person knows what they should be doing, using the right processes, they've got the right systems set up. And so typically what I feel like works best for a lot of firms who are deciding whether or not they want to bring on marketing help in-house, they usually will bring me in first, get a good lay of the land, put a good plan in place, get things up and running. Things are running smoothly. We've got some good processes going, some good systems, some good campaigns running. Once those up and going, then we can think about bringing in somebody full time who we're paying, 20, 25 bucks an hour. And once we get them onboarded, I can manage that person, coach them, advise them, mentor them. Then I can scale back my level of engagement with the firm, and but still be that advisor to the advisor, that coach, uh, talking to them through the marketing strategy and the things that we're going to be doing the next quarter, the next year, the next 2 or 3 years to build the firm up. So there's lots of different ways that a fractional marketing person can come in, and whether that's initial, strategic development, building that original, roadmap of what growth looks like for the next 3 to 6 months, whether that's what kind of resource do we need to bring in from a marketing perspective. Do we need to bring in an on-staff coordinator? Do we need to bring on some vendors or agencies? I'm certainly not anti marketing agency or vendor or contractor. I think somebody actually needs to do the work. And me as a fractional marketing leader, I can do a lot of the work myself as a jack of all trades, but I feel like my mastery is in strategy development. And so once we get the strategy set, then I can go through and figure out what kind of those tactics can I take on versus what do we need to hire externally or maybe an internal resource.
So much of this is about implementation from a marketing perspective. Matt Holleran talks about it with respect to social media. Are you going to be half ass or are you going to be whole ass?
Yeah,
And I
I love
think,
that.
right, when you talk
Yeah.
to a lot of advisors, oh, I do social media or I do marketing. Okay, what is it? And it's typically the half bleep versus the whole bleep. Along those lines, how's marketing changed for RIAs and advisory firms in recent years? And can we piggyback on that? The role of AI and automation and modern marketing, the hype versus real utility. Because as you said, give me 100 business ideas for how to grow my business, and it's going to spit out what have you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think the interesting thing is AI certainly gets all the headlines nowadays because it's just everywhere. And so we in the advisor community hear about that and think we're behind because we don't have AI into our practice. And essentially, I think a lot of firms are still way behind. The 1900s marketing. They don't really have a website built. They don't have email marketing in place or a newsletter or any sort of nurturing campaigns. They don't.
Your CRM as a spreadsheet.
Yeah. So
It's
there's.
crazy. There'll be a huge office and they're, yeah,
Yeah,
continue.
exactly.
Sorry, it's
So
internal frustration I'm voicing
yeah.
here.
So let's not worry about jumping right into the AI bandwagon just yet. Like let's see what kind of foundation do we need to build for your firm versus adding on these AI tools later. So certainly we can add those in, and when we're building these different things, we can incorporate AI to make these systems better optimized. So for building email campaigns or websites, but just understanding kind of the core marketing that we need to put in place to grow the firm. So I think all those are essential, and those are pretty easy to set up nowadays. But that kind of table stakes, I think, is necessary for a lot of firms. They've been relying solely on referrals for growth, and all that stuff they haven't needed. They haven't needed a good website. They haven't needed email. They're just waiting for the phone to call or the phone to ring from some of their clients referring people. So, but I think at some point maybe those referrals start drying up, and so they need to incorporate some more marketing strategies. So AI is great. I use AI every day for me, and I have it embedded in some of the systems and processes that I have with the clients that I'm working with. But it doesn't need to be for everybody. I think there's a lot of people that are a little unsure of AI, that they don't want to jump in, and that's fine. It's okay to be unsure of the new things, especially with it changing so much every day. Um, I think the easiest thing is to use ChatGPT just to just try it out, see if that helps you. I turned my mom onto ChatGPT just recently. She's 80 years old almost, and well, she's not quite 80. She would hate if she heard me say that. She's 75 years young, and
Ah,
yeah, and she loves ChatGPT. So if she can handle ChatGPT, I think anybody else listening can. So I think AI has its use, but let's wind it back a little bit. Let's get the basics in place, and then we can ramp up get into the AI bandwagon.
can we circle back to narrowing or making that niche so deep it's uncomfortable, so to speak? So For the advisors listening who may be on the cusp of needing your services, but aren't quite there yet, but are out of the talk to everybody that fogs a mirror stage of their career, w- how do, and some of them never even go there anymore, if we can get ahead of it. But how do you determine what type of questions should you ask yourself relative to narrowing your niche with respect to client acquisition?
Uh, I think finding the niche that you understand, that you have some sort of connection to. If you've got a military background, maybe that's maybe that's a niche for you. If you've got a background or connections in the tech industry or the education industry or dentists or doctors or if you've got something that resonates with you that you have a passion for, then by all means make that your niche. I mean, it doesn't have to be 1960s Ferrari owners is the only people that you deal and have business with. But if it's car owners, then make that part of your marketing campaigns. But as far as your niche, I mean, you have to narrow it down more than just retirees or pre-retirees. I mean, certainly that can be your focus, but maybe it's you want to work with young professionals that are high net worth and not yet rich, the Henrys of the world.
The Henrys.
Yeah, or maybe it's up and coming tech professionals that have that high income, or if that's your niche, fantastic. But it's so broad if you just say retirees or pre-retirees, and so I think it just takes a little bit of soul searching to figure out, okay, who do you feel you resonate most? Like you've had conversations with hundreds of thousands of people over your career, who do you like helping the most? And if you can bucket those people into certain groups, then that's kind of the basis of your niches.
And if you're doing that, you're going to be working with people that you like. You're going to be repelling more than you're attracting, but you're going to be attracting the people that know you're authentic. And then you're speaking to your own authenticity and you get to be yourself.
Yeah, bingo, you got it. Yep.
So, common pitfalls that advisors make when you go into an office and they're looking for marketing assistance or even an overhaul, what are some of the most common mistakes that I'm sure some of the advisors listening today could relate to or maybe recognize in their own practices?
I think the biggest mistake, and you hit on this a little bit earlier, Ben, is just kind of those random acts of marketing is throwing spaghetti up against the wall and hoping something sticks without having any sort of true strategy behind it. Uh, like we said earlier, you can go into Chat or Gemini or whoever, and you can get 1,000 different tactics that you can try out, but you're not quite sure if that's specific or if that's actually relevant to your business. So I think just kind of figure out from an overall strategy perspective, what do you want to put in place? And that would be kind of a common pitfall is what's John next door? What's John the advisor next door doing? I want to do what he's doing because he seems like he's killing at it, and and that may not be exactly great for you just because somebody else is having a lot of success in something. So if somebody is great at creating YouTube videos and that's what they love to do, they're creating all these short form videos and that they're having a huge following. I mean, that's fantastic for them. But if that's inauthentic to you, that energy is going to come out in your marketing. If you go onto YouTube and you're just like, "Hi, I'm John," if you don't have that energy, that enthusiasm, it's going to come out and it's not going to resonate with the audience as much as it resonates with that person's audience. So I think just making sure that you've got an overall strategy in place that works for you and your personality. And I think again, doing some of that soul searching and ask yourself, what do you enjoy most doing? Do you like being on the news or had media appearances talking to reporters? Do you really enjoy blogging and writing, that kind of content marketing, creating those newsletters and those letters to clients and prospects? Creating that email cadence where you're sending out a message once a week. Do you like podcasts? Do you like to be on things like this? Do you want to create your own podcast? Do you want to be a guest on other people's podcasts? Do you want to write a book? It's wherever you feel most comfortable. I mean, when I work with firms, I don't. I mean, I'm going to push them outside of their comfort zone a little bit, but I'm not going to force them to become a TikTok star if they hate, social media. It's just going to
Or they
become,
don't know the dances. Yeah.
that's right. And I'm not a great dancer, and so I can't teach you how to dance. Just like I'm not a, I can't teach you. You can only teach somebody so much until it becomes uncomfortable. So again, there's a lot of things that we can do just for basics, just to get things up and running. And also, and I think advisors have to understand that there's a lot of other firms out there that are doing nothing. And so if you just do something, you're at least standing out from your competition who are doing nothing. And so I think just building up a little bit of momentum around your marketing and just layering on different things, get something that are working really well, and then once those are in place, let's add something else on. So I think it's very slow, methodic. Marketing's a marathon. It takes a lot to get some of those marketing wheels, the momentum running. There's a lot of quick wins in that process that you can um, um, achieve. But I think if you have to take a long term view at marketing, that's probably where you're going to have less stress, as you're going to have to invest a little bit of time, a little bit of money. There should be a certain return on your investment, a return on your time investment as well. But you should see some of those quick wins. But you also have to know it's going to take a little bit of time to get some of these things rolling.
I like that. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And so if you approach it with intentionality and you see the long game, then you could have a successful marketing plan. We see this with seminar marketing all the time, though not much anymore, because I will say up front, if you're going to do one seminar, one event, and judge the efficacy of said event based on that one event, don't do the event at all.
Yeah. That the same thing with any sort of marketing tactic. The ones and dones, I mean, that's not enough of a sample size to show your success. So I wouldn't say do 100 seminars and use that as, I mean, you can need some between 1 and 100 is probably a good sample size. But more than one, definitely. Yeah.
Somewhere along the way, you'll figure it out. Full funnel systems that actually convert. What are the best practices for building those full funnel systems? We talk about marketing spokes on the wheel or marketing funnels. And one of the keys, I think, is to set up more than one funnel
Yeah,
from a marketing
absolutely.
perspective. But analyzing those funnels and best practices, what's your opinion on that, Joel?
Well, yeah, I think if you've got too many spokes on your wheel, you're just spinning. I mean, that's too much for one phone firm to focus on. So, like I was saying earlier, just get one of those spokes really strong, really driving that wheel, and then let's add a few more spokes in and kind of improve those along the way. So, I'd say get really good at one thing. Become kind of an expert at that in your region basically, and say, you are the seminar guy, you are the podcast guy, you are the blogger, the content. So I would say get really good in one area, and then you can layer on these different tactics and strategies on top of that. But also look at the different types of pieces of marketing that you do. So if seminar marketing is where you're going to focus, then make sure that you can optimize that as much as you can. So I think on Matt's podcast, you were talking about you're bringing in 50 people raise their hand that they are interested in coming to your seminar, and only one of those actually converts to a client. So you've got 49 other buying units that you can market to, and it's not just a system where you just keep inviting those 49 people to the next seminar, and then 48 people to the next seminar, 47. Like, you're trying to take those people that you have in your database and drop them into different funnels. So you drop them into your email nurturing funnel, and you can put them in, if you can do an SMS like texting campaign, you can do that as well. You can actually take their contact information um, and anonymize it a little bit, and you can drop it into Facebook and do meta ad campaigns using that database. And so Meta will allow you to create lookalike audiences so that your ads are served to people that have already raised their hand that they're interested in your products and services. And so that's something else you can do. And so you can take kind of that one piece of content, that one lead magnet, whatever it might be, and expand it across your entire marketing ecosphere.
That was helpful because while I do advocate for setting up a lot of spokes on the wheel or a lot of funnels, you're right. If if you're going to move beyond referrals, then you really need to be really good at least one element of that funnel or spoke or whatever metaphor we're going to stretch out here before you keep adding to it. And I'm sure you've seen it. I have, where, I'll meet with an office. Hey, what's your marketing? What are you doing from a marketing perspective? Well, we're buying these leads. We're also setting up a referral system with these CPAs. We just started doing seminars and we just started launching YouTube videos and we're advertising on Facebook. Okay. Are any of those successful? And how do you measure the ROI if you're just going in that many directions? Well, I appreciate the commitment to the ad spend.
Yeah.
There's going to ultimately be a disconnect because, to your point, you're not going to be ever perfect one element of the system and therefore not be able to judge the ROI.
Yeah, and I think the issue comes in also is you have these advisors, these producers doing all these different strategies and tactics, and they're in place, they're getting some results, but no one is leading the charge. Like no one's making sure that they get an ROI in the investment. No one's tracking the success of all these campaigns. There's just no accountability. And so they feel like it's working, but there's no true statistics or dashboards or metrics around it to say yes or no whether that's working or not. And I think once things start to dry up, they say, oh well, it's not working. And it's like, well, it's because nobody's managing, no one's optimizing it. Maybe you quit too soon. Maybe you had that one seminar and decided it wasn't going to work for you, or maybe you just did one ad campaign in Facebook or Google or LinkedIn and that didn't work for you. And so I think it's just having somebody that manages that all those different strategies and tactics and understands how that all works together. And it's again, I certainly want to work with firms that are open to all these different growth strategies. And so if they're doing all this stuff, that's fantastic, because that's one less thing that I have to encourage people to do is try new things, because and ultimately you don't really know what's going to work unless you give it a try. But you also have to give it a try long enough to give it a chance to work. Going back to the marathon metaphor, is it's just going to take a little bit of time for some of these things to get rolling.
I know it'll take time, and I don't want to just focus on the little wins, but do you have an example of an office where marketing drastically shifted where they were at versus where they want it to be?
Oh gosh, yeah. There's all kinds of examples. I think I'm trying to think of one specific particular. Uh, I was working with this one firm, and they, they're an independent RIA. Well, actually, they were with an RIA platform. They were trying to go independent, and so they needed to make sure that all their branding was in place. But they also are hiring new advisors, and they were working with 3 different marketing firms and paying them all different fees. And they were they had a little bit of marketing going on here. They had something they tried. And so before they brought me on board, there was just no structure. And kind of what I was saying earlier is the lead advisor, he was doing a lot he felt like he's doing a lot of marketing himself, and then he started to get a bunch of clients, and then he stopped doing marketing, and then his marketing fell off. And so it wasn't until he decided he needed some help that he brought in me, and I was able to take all that marketing burden off of his shoulders and his wife's shoulders, who was actually doing a lot of the marketing herself too, and some of the admin people in the office, they were doing some marketing. So everyone's kind of had their hand in marketing until they took all that burden and shifted to me. They didn't feel like they actually had a good handle on their marketing, and a lot of the marketing is emotional with firms. So just because they maybe are not seeing the results of them immediately work and like that immediate ROI, just knowing that someone is in charge of it is kind of that peace of mind. I mean, that's exactly why clients work with financial advisors, is that kind of peace of mind that their finances are being handled by a professional. And so that's kind of where that uh, case study came in. I was trying to describe just now was just kind of taking that peace of mind that somebody is handling. Yes, we got good returns, we got prospects flowing in, we've got a good structure and system in place. I got to the point where no one really knew what was happening day to day, because they're just like, oh, Joel's handling it. And of course, I had my weekly check-ins and I had reporting and all that around it. And so they just knew everything was working because things were going fine. And that allowed the advisor, the owner of the firm, to then focus on what he needed to build his business and hire additional advisors and expand his services. And so I think that's the best use cases I can find for in particular for hiring somebody like me to come in and help out, is just taking off that emotional burden of the marketing and the worry that you're wasting money. And there's somebody that's, like I said, waking up every day. How can I grow your firm to heights that it hasn't seen before from a marketing perspective? And so that's kind of my value proposition, I guess, that you could say when I'm working with firms.
And where do you see, last question, and then we'll appreciate yours. Where do you see financial services evolving from a marketing perspective over the next, say, 3 to 5 years?
Gosh, yeah, it's almost like you can't even say 3 to 5 years. You can say what's the next 12 months gonna look like, especially with
That's probably
AI.
fair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with AI, with because I think I don't know if you've ever heard the EOS model. They used to say, "What's your 10-year horizon look like for your firm?" And they're like, "Well, let's back it down to 3 or 5 years." And now it's like, "What does the next 12 months looks like?" I mean, AI is just disrupting everything and then creating all kinds of new marketing opportunities, new business development opportunities. The way people are buying is changing. And I talk about this a little bit in my book. Is people spend 75% of their buying journey researching you, get information before they ever reach out to you. And if you don't have that kind of digital first impression in place, then you're going to get left behind because other advisors, other firms have a much better first impression that they're showing to that potential client or customer. And so I think the overall buying journey is going to continue to change dramatically. We see that with AI search coming into play now when instead of Google being the main source of results for people to find, potential service provider for them. They're going to ChatGPT or Gemini or wherever else, and plugging in, find me the best financial advisor or find me the best insurance, agent in my area. And so they're going to use ChatGPT. And those search results. And so that's changing the entire way that marketers then have to market these individual firms. A lot of it, it touches on like good SEO. I mean, what's good for SEO is also good for AI search too. It really comes down to just creating great content that provides value to people. So
Can
I
I
think I
quickly
think
hear
for
that stat one more time? The 75%. Just give me, I want to make sure our
oh yeah,
listeners
and,
get
and
that.
it's probably made up, but it feels right. Is like 75%. Is of your buyer's journey is already completed before they reach out to you, before they raise their hand and say, "Hey, I want Ben to call me," because I think so many people are so inundated by marketing nowadays that they don't want to share their email address.
Yeah.
They don't want to get inundated. They don't want to get your phone call, especially with the lead vendors that are out there now, just farming out all those leads. And then somebody puts a lead in, and they get a thousand different phone calls. I mean, I get that all the time when I'm trying to refinance my mortgage or get a new
Yeah.
auto loan. Like I just get nailed on. It's like I just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And so I
Don't click
think,
the button. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, oh, I know if I click this, I'm gonna get hit.
I'm going to
And
get
and then
hit.
all of a sudden it's just like boom, 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 your phone just starts blowing up. So I think that's the worry that a lot of people have nowadays. And so they're just looking for more value add information that they can just passively look for information from you, from your business. So as long as you have got a good website out there with some good value add content, whether it's assessments or those calculators we talked about, blog posts are fantastic. Lead magnets, some sort of, like I said, value add. If you've got videos that you talk about how you approach investing and money management and your philosophy, I think that's what's going to really help you stand out for that buyer that's going through that journey, because that then helps you showcase yourself much better and makes you stand out in kind of that sea of sameness of all the other advisors out there that have kind of those same staticky type of content that they're showing for everybody else.
So basically, they need you or at least some type of marketing. So with that in mind, let's wrap up with how can advisors listening today or potential future advisors working here at SMS listening to this episode connect with you and learn about CMO Alpha?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a website, cmoalpha.com, but that's just my company name. You can find me on LinkedIn. That's where I'm on all day long. I try to post some daily content that I think is helpful for my network. I think the easiest first step, if somebody is interested in hiring a marketing professional to help them build out their business, whether it's a fractional marketing leader or an agency or anybody else, just to have a quick discovery call, just like you would do for a new client. Like, let's just hop on a phone call. We're both, we're humans. Like, let's just have a conversation, see if there's a good fit. I can understand the challenges that you're facing, where you want to grow in the future. And then I can say, okay, that's great. Like maybe we can work together. If not, I'll share some resources that I think might help you along the way. But I'm just here to be a resource for everybody. There's no shortage of great content out there from advisor marketing. There's lots of coaches out there that I personally follow, and I applaud them for promoting great marketing tactics. So I'm certainly not the only one out there, but I would love to have conversations with anybody that just wants to get a better understanding of marketing. And I do have a book out there as well that just published. So if you want to go check that out on Amazon, it's called Trailblazing Growth. It talks about the 8 stages that a client goes through from becoming aware that they have an issue that they need help with, from money management, wealth management, investment standpoint, whether they're doing it themselves or they're working with an advisor, and kind of walking the advisor all the way through the stages that that client goes through, from that awareness point to the point where they become a raving advocate for your firm. So check that out on Amazon. But yeah, otherwise, I'm just here whenever you want to have a conversation. So Ben, appreciate you having me on the podcast.
My pleasure, Joel. Thank you so much for being here. All right, listeners, my takeaways: go get the book. Number one. Number two, narrow your niche. And number three, 75% of the buying journey of your future clients, they're going to do in advance of meeting you, which is remarkable, regardless of how accurate that statistic is, as long as it's in the neighborhood. Listeners, thank you. Joel, thank you. Please tune in for our next episode. We will be talking to Lawrence Black from the Index Standard. This should be a spicy episode. Hybrid indices, low vol indices. Do we just go raw domestic equity benchmark, renewal rate integrity? As I said from the very beginning, I like to give listeners some marketing, give listeners some technical and tactical and down and dirty annuity basics, as well as some high level annuity and AUM implementation as well. So Joel, thank you so much. Listeners, stay tuned for the Lawrence Black episode. And as always, stay in good order.